Okay, let me demonstrate how to edit a video foreshadow. I'm going to do basically the same thing I did in class the other day, except this time I hope to get a little bit further. And also this time I'm actually going to be using samples from the package project. In other words, what I've done here is I've taken a portion of the voice track in the blue here, and I've taken a portion of the raw footage in the white. So I'm actually using an example right from the package project, and this is actually something you could just do when you put your project together. So what I've got, again, is I've got the voice track here, and I've got the sound bite here. Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to trim my sound bite. In other words, I want to make sure that the sound bite begins where I need it to. And as I look at the script, I'm looking at the soundbite that says it begins with the words, "Everybody talks about this bank bailout." So that's where I need to cue my soundbite. That's where I need to have my soundbite begin, with those words. Everybody talks about this bank bailout. So let me do this. Let me just play a little bit of this clip and see if I can find that beginning. Should be right here.
Everybody talks about this bank bailout. They talk about the...
There it is. Okay. So I'm going to take my scrub line and I'm going to move it back here. And I'm going to put it just at the beginning of where he says, everybody talks about this bank bailout. All right. So that's cueing the soundbite. That's getting it right at the position where I want it to begin. Now, of course, I have this extra audio and video. So all I'm going to do is I'm just simply going to trim that away. I position my cursor or my scrub line right at the beginning of the soundbite, and then I just simply trim the other audio and video by pushing it into that particular point. So now, when I hit the space bar to play it back, it should start with, "Everybody talks about this bank bailout."
Everybody talks about this bank bailout.
Perfect. I've got it. Okay. Now the other thing that you need to note, I have my soundbite in the V2 track, okay, in the video 2 track. That's where I've put the video for my soundbite. Likewise, I've moved the audio track from the soundbite into audio 2, just to be consistent. So the soundbite video in video 2, the soundbite audio in audio 2. Now that I have it cued, I can just simply move it over and put it right next to where my voice track ends. All right, so again, remembering that the blue portion here is the voice track, and right where that voice track ends, that's where I want my soundbite to begin. So I've just simply put those two together. And the last line of my voice track is, "And banks need to borrow money from the federal government." I'm just simply looking at my script right here. And again, remember, the script is available to you on Canvas under Files. So again, that sentence is, "And banks need to borrow money from the federal government." So let me bring my scrub line back and see if I can find where that line starts. "And banks need to borrow money from the federal government." There it is, right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to position my scrub line right at the beginning of the start of that sentence. "And banks need to borrow money from the federal government." That is the point at which I want my video foreshadow to begin. So in order to make that happen, I'm going to do what I did the other day in class. I'm just simply going to bring back that video that we just took away. All right, so I'm going to again grab the edge of the video. I'm going to bring it back to my scrub line, and just like that, I have created the video foreshadow. Now I know this makes sense to most of you. I think this makes sense to almost all of you, because the other day when we did it, I could tell there was like an aha moment that happened. So that's how the video foreshadow is created. So now let me just play it, and again, when you hear the voice track say, "And banks need to borrow money from the federal government," that is the point at which you should see the guy in the brown jacket. Again, creating that video foreshadow of seeing him before he actually speaks. So here it is. Perfect, except for the audio, because the audio has to be mixed. Right now, the voice track and the audio from his soundbite are competing with each other. We need to lower the audio from his soundbite in the beginning. We need to lower the portion of the audio that creates the video foreshadow. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to utilize that pen tool that we talked about the other day. So here it is. Here's our pen tool. When we click on it and come over to the timeline in the audio portion, you can see the little pen tool icon. Now, what is going to happen is with this pen tool, we can click anywhere on that timeline and it will create a dot or a mark. And we can use those marks to create just a portion of the audio track that we want to adjust. So by using the pen tool, we can make an adjustment in the audio, but only in portions of the audio. In other words, we will not have to adjust the entire audio track, but with the pen tool, we can choose which portion of the audio track we want to adjust. So that's what we're going to do. Now my first click, or my first dot that I'm going to put up here, is going to be at the very beginning of the video foreshadow. So I'm going to bring my cursor line back to where the foreshadow begins, and I'm going to use my pen tool, and I'm going to put a dot right there at the beginning. Okay. Now, my next dot is going to be at the end of the video foreshadow. It is going to be made right where the voice track stops, and that is the same point at which we want the soundbite to begin. So, again, I position my cursor, and I click, and my pen tool gives me the indication. So what I've done now is I've created this space in here in the audio track that I can adjust. Just this portion of the audio track I can make an adjustment to without adjusting the entire audio track. However, I'm going to make two more dots. I'm going to make one just next to the first dot we made, to the outside of it, and I'm going to make one next to the second dot we made, just to the inside of it. All right? So what that's going to do is it's going to allow me now to work with just that portion, as I said, just that portion of the audio. So I can grab it. I'm going to come back to my selection tool, my default setting, and you'll see then that I get the icon, the double arrow that indicates that I can adjust the audio, and I need to pull it down. I'm going to go back to my pen tool for just a second and put in my dot. Notice that now I have 4 dots. I need the 4 dots. Okay? Back to my selection tool, grabbing the audio and lowering it. And you can see that what I've done is I've lowered just that portion of it. All right? And this, again, is the audio from the soundbite. I'm lowering his voice so that it will still be heard but not understood when it plays back with the voice track. So let's see what we've got. Money from banks, and banks need to borrow money from the federal government.
Everybody talks about this.
Actually, that's not bad. What I'm going to do is raise it just a little bit. He turns away from the microphone, so his voice sort of tails off anyhow. His audio sort of drops as it is. But what I want to do is I just want to raise that a little bit more if I can. Just, again, to simply hear him just a little bit better. So let me go back here, and I'm going to grab the beginning portion where my first dot is, and I'm going to bring it up just a little bit. And now I want to see if I can hear him just a little bit more, if there's just a little more audio from him being mixed with the voice, with my voice in the voice track. That works. So again, we can hear him. However, we just simply do not understand him until he starts to speak at the end of the voice track.
Everybody talks about this bank.
Not bad. One more time. I'll stop talking this time, so hopefully you can hear it just a little bit better. Yeah, I think, you know what? I think that really what we could do, in all honesty, is bring him up even a little bit more. So I'm going to grab this portion, and I'm going to raise it, because, again, he turns away from the microphone. So he's a little hard to hear. So I want to make sure that his voice continues throughout the time that we're hearing the voice track.
And banks need to borrow money from the federal government. Everybody talks about this bank.
We can take it. So we're almost back to the original spot where we started. But you can see we ended up lowering it just a little bit. And as a result of that, there's, again, no competition between the voice track and the soundbite. They're not competing with each other. The soundbite is heard but not understood. That's how you create the video foreshadow, and that's how you make the adjustments on the audio.